Hi, Bother Brigade. Here's what's bothering me today. The day has finally happened. Roe v. Wade has been overturned, and now at least 80 million Americans are losing access to what should be a necessary and vital part of healthcare. Now, this isn't even to sort of rehash something I've said before about how this sets terrible, awful precedents with regards to rights being revoked and bodily autonomy and all that other good stuff. We've covered that before. I'll see if I can find the video link and drop it down below. But what people will actually see below, for the most part, are lots of little helpful resources, let's say, because I think that's what a lot of people are going to need right now. So we've kind of spent the past day sifting through a lot of this stuff, and we've kind of arrived at a few different things that people can do. And I'm also going to address a few things that I've seen talked about that kind of need to be nipped in the bud because they're not, well, they're not great. Let's be honest. But first, there's this TikTok that I think everyone should watch.
So, let's just give you some general tips for your own reproductive health today. Just as an upfront thing, a lot of what I'm going to tell you might sound very conspiratorial right now, or even extreme. It's not. In fact, you can find criminal cases where following some of these tips might have actually prevented prosecutors from bringing a case against someone. It's that bad. By the way, a lot of the research for this video I pulled out of this report by the STOP organization. Go read it. I promise you it's worth your time. As many smarter people than me have said right now, delete your period tracking apps. Do it. If you expect your cycle to be disrupted for any reason whatsoever, use cash to buy any medicines. If possible, leave your phone at home while buying those medicines. If you do buy contraceptives, make sure not to hoard them. 1, they have a shelf life. 2, that can attract suspicion. And 3, frankly, a lot of people need them right now. Speaking of, use cash for everything. Every purchase related to your reproductive health. Crypto is nowhere near as safe as you think it is, and I don't need to tell you to not trust Amazon or third-party retailers with your purchase data. Communications is extremely important here because prosecutors can and will pull the search data of people they are trying to prosecute. For all searches related to your reproductive health, use a VPN and use Tor. I promise you, DuckDuckGo and incognito mode simply are not enough. For one-to-one communications, you need to use something that is end-to-end encrypted. For text messaging, that's an app like Signal. For email, that's an app like Proton Mail. Make sure that the data from those apps is not stored locally on your phone or in the cloud. Enable disappearing messages or regularly delete that data, especially if you're crossing state lines, borders, or anywhere else where someone might want to watch you. Your phone can still get pings and be tracked even if you turn it off, so if you really want to be safe, enable airplane mode, any kind of NFC or Bluetooth. And if you want to be extra double secure, you can buy small Faraday cages that physically block electromagnetic radiation. Be sure to test them on your phone when you get them. If you're traveling, you need to be extremely careful about who you tell the reasons for your travel. Don't post about it on social media at all. Don't tell anyone who doesn't need to know. By the way, that very much includes your doctor or nurse. Because yes, while your data is protected by HIPAA, HIPAA is not an absolute defense, and if a state is trying to conduct a criminal investigation, your personal health information can be subpoenaed. There are some limits to that, but they won't necessarily be enough to protect you. If you want to know more about this, you can look at Connecticut's Reproductive Freedom Defense Act, which seeks to protect people who travel to the state to get abortions. And lastly, be very careful. You need to approach this with the same level of caution that you would approach a drug deal, because for the fact is, either today or in the next few weeks, for over 80 million Americans, abortion will now be an illegal medical procedure. You need to be careful, and for what it's worth, there are clinics in Ontario, Canada that provide abortions at low cost and without asking for permanent residency or any kind of ID or passport. Avail yourself of them. Stay safe. You can do this.
Now, he's not wrong. Those are all very good things that people should do. Again, the link to that STOP report will be in the description down below. But there's a couple of things that I do want to go through and address. Not that they're wrong, but also just to kind of make people think about another aspect of them. But first off, and I think it's very crucial that people take this to heart right now, you are allowed all your grief and despair, but I promise you there are systems in place to help. With funding, with travel, with obtaining pills. People have been building this for years. It works, and every one of us can do something to make those systems more robust. And that's what we're going to do here today, folks. That is what this is all ultimately about. So, first off, I kind of want to address something that I've been seeing, and that even that TikToker said at the very beginning of their video, which is about the notion of, like using menstrual cycle apps and stuff like that to delete them because of, privacy and violation concerns. And those are very valid. Lots of people have been pointing this out online and also suggesting things like, don't ask this stuff on Facebook, don't Google, where to get an abortion in Texas. And also just very casual reminders of the fact that data is used by companies and they will sell it to people. So, play it safe, right? However, there are some apps that don't sell your data. And so the first is Clue. We've had messages from users concerned about how their data could be used by US courts if Roe v. Wade is overturned. We completely understand this anxiety, and we want to reassure you that any health data you track in Clue about pregnancy or abortion is private and safe. Keeping your sensitive data safe is fundamental to our values and what we believe in, and also fundamental to our business model, because that depends on earning our community's trust. And we are based in Berlin. As a European company, Clue is obliged under European Union law, the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, to apply special protections to our users' reproductive health data. We will not disclose it. We will stand up for our users. And then there's another app called Stardust, which does kind of a similar thing, I guess, but basically on a variety of social media platforms, Clue and Stardust have been the two names that I've seen and heard the most that are very much actually going to not sell your data. In light of the recent news about Roe v. Wade, we want to make our commitment clear to you. We are a women-owned app founded on a belief in freedom of choice and freedom of privacy. We do not sell data. We have never sold data. We will never sell data. We have encrypted your information to ensure that no governments or companies will ever access data that belongs to you and you alone. It will stay this way forever. So these are very positive things to take and keep to heart for right now. But this is only just really scratching the surface, right? We're here to talk about other solutions, especially that, the first tweet I said, it talked about how there's very much systems already in place. Well, turns out the anarchist community has kind of been doing this for a while. Anarchist Collective shares instructions to make DIY abortion pills. So, unfortunately, in this case, with Roe v. Wade being overturned, this might be a very useful resource. However, if you are, uncertain and unable in terms of buying the necessary ingredients and also equipment to make this, and you're afraid of oh geez, I don't know how trustworthy that is, then there are various other services that basically do the same thing. Aid Access is a phenomenal resource designed to provide abortion access to everyone. They provide an online consult and then mail you pills. Depending on where you are, this can take up to a few weeks, but they will provide pills to anyone, anywhere. And they also provide fairly in-depth information on how to take the pills and the abortion process itself and abortion aftercare. Then you have the MA hotline, which you can call or text if you need support for your self-managed abortion. They also have a guide on how to use the pill, and they have a resource section on where to find abortion pills online. And then there's Plan C Pills, which has a guide on how to use pills and offer pills by mail after a telehealth consultation in the US. They also have a link to websites where you can just order the pills, which is illegal, just putting that out there for legal disclaimer reasons. But it's there in case you ever need them and you couldn't access them in any other way. So that's all well and good in terms of acquiring abortion pills after the fact, but that's if you are lucky enough to detect it. In other cases, it might be a case of, oh no, we want to keep it, but then you find out, oh, it's actually going to be malformed, and it may even cause, maybe, God forbid, it's an ectopic pregnancy, and that's usually pretty much always fatal to both child and mother. And so you need to actually go over the border, right, to seek out an abortion. I've seen lots of people say this for Mexico, but also Canada, right? Or people who live very close to the Canadian border, like this woman. I live in New York State near the Canadian border. We have a second private bedroom with a locking door for anyone who needs to come here for abortion services. We can also get funding and bring you to the border if needed. Let me know if someone needs help and I will DM you. And so already in the wake of this ruling, we've seen tons of instances like this. I've also seen many of my fellow Canadians say, and share that whole, camping, wink, wink, meme, let's call it, about, if you need a camping trip, we'll help you organize it and I'll never talk about it again. And okay, is that solidarity? Is that grandstanding? I'll leave that up to individuals to decide. However, I do want to touch on that point about a lot of people saying, you can just come up to Canada. Now, a couple problems with transportation in this regard. There are several states that border Canada that, because of the high volume of traffic and people living and working on both sides of the border, they basically have what's kind of an enhanced driver's license, but that's only in a handful of states. It's like Maine, Vermont, New York State, Michigan, I think maybe Minnesota, but don't quote me on that. And for sure, Washington State. So really only a handful of states where people who have to be residents of that state can get an enhanced driver's license to kind of just cross over the border very quickly. In other cases, and we've seen it with the Canadian government here, both federally and even some provincial ones saying, look, this is a terrible development, but know that you are welcome here, American women. That kind of ignores the point that a lot of Americans don't have passports. It's kind of just an American thing to not have a passport because the nation is so big and diverse and has like sun-soaked, southern states. So why spend thousands of dollars going around the world when you can just go to California, Texas, Florida, right? So, that's kind of an issue that no one seems to be talking about. Is for the most part, you're still going to need to, if for whatever reason, the blue states that actually do secure the right to abortion right now, if they, for whatever reason, are insufficient and can't squeeze you in and you have to get across the Canadian border, the single thing I've heard from a lot of people is, that's fine, but there's no mention of the fact that you need a passport to do that. Or if you're very lucky and live in one of the major border states, you can get an enhanced driver's license. Those, right now, given staffing shortages and supply chain issues, as we've already seen with lots of Canadians bitching about their inability to get their passports renewed, probably not a real tenable solution, at least in the near term future. So I just want to put that out there in terms of we'll just go to Canada. It's a little harder to do than just walking across the border unless you plan on doing that illegally, which again, for legal reasons, I cannot officially condone. And then there's the issue of funding, right? And a lot of people have immediately said, now's the time, really got to support Planned Parenthood. Hold up. Do not donate to Planned Parenthood right now. They are incredibly well funded by regular donors. Please donate to abortion funds, especially in states with trigger laws, like in the South and the Midwest. And yeah, that's valid. Not to say that people still shouldn't donate to Planned Parenthood because they have come under attack in the past. They likely will continue to suffer attacks in the future because of this, right? So I'm not telling people not to donate, but just to sort of take a step back and realize that there's also many other funds that you can actually support, which brings me to, there will be a link in the description down below providing links to abortion funds in all 50 US states. I'm hoping that that link will still work. If not, I've put it into a couple different links in case Google, for whatever reason, decides, oh no, you can't be sharing this. This is bad for whatever reason. So if that link doesn't work, please let me know either in the comment section, tag me on Twitter or something, let me know via DMs or something. But if that happens, then I do have a backup resource that I am more than happy to share with people who need it or want access to it if the link is killed for whatever reason. And then in terms of some more general information that people should just kind of know about, New Yorker magazine ran a special edition that shows some of the most important information about how you can get an abortion right now, and especially on how to keep it private. There was a whole section in there. So again, I provide a link to the tweet where they've actually just screen grabbed the entire article, but also, maybe just if you have access to buying this, in real format, like a local cigarette shop or your corner store, if they sell this by any chance, or at a newsstand, if you're in one of the few places that still has those, by the way, or if you can somehow find it online, that seems to also be a pretty good resource for people right now. So I'm hoping between all these different aspects, touching on both sides of the border and mentioning to people, hey, here's some things to keep in mind, especially with that TikTok at the start of it, all these various links to sources that, again, will be provided in the description down below. So I'm hoping this helps people in some capacity. But I really hate that this has to be necessary right now. That's what's bothering me today.